Well, I represent the good BPO industry. Call centers, we called some, and now the business process management industry. So when you look at what we as an industry have accomplished, it's quite a lot. $24–25 billion, 1 million direct jobs, 5 million total jobs, 4 million indirect jobs. And I dare say in every town and city where this industry went, we transformed the town and city, including Hyderabad. Go into those bars and restaurants and you'll find a lot of the IT and BPO employees. Actually, even if you don't go there, you throw a stone, you're likely to hit somebody who's working in that industry. So, when we look at the trip, I guess you expect me to stand here and say how it was a great ambition, great vision, what we did, and how we foresaw whatever was going to happen. I'm sorry to disappoint you. This industry was an accident. Good accident, don't get me wrong, I loved it. But it was an accident. I was only trying to prove to my American superiors that we Indians are as competent and as capable as our international counterparts. People like you and me. Educated? I mean, those not educated can raise their hands. More importantly, trainable and willing to demonstrate what we learn on a global international platform. We created history. And then I'm asked, so Raman, something must have contributed to it. So in an accident, it was only an effort to show what we can do. So primarily there must be something. And that primarily stuck to my mind when somebody else said, let's talk of the top 5 things that happened. And what were the prime 5 things that happened? And I thought I'd come and share that with you. What contributed to this success? The prime things. Persuasion. When you go in with a concept and an idea to somebody, whether it's your boss, now how many of you, everybody has a boss here, right? How many can persuade a boss if he doesn't agree? I mean, you can't twist his or her arm. You have to use logic and rationale. You persuade the boss, you persuade the customer. My customer, 30 years ago, when I evangelized this with an American Express, and that time there were no mobiles. We used to call from landlines, copper lines. You had to book a lightning call to speak to somebody. 3 minutes you used to get. And we never used to complete those 3 minutes because the call would go dead in between. And this senior of mine said, Raman, I can't talk to you for 3 minutes. And you are telling me you'll process my vendor payable invoices? You gotta be kidding. What are you smoking? Customers didn't agree. Superiors didn't agree. The vendors and suppliers. When I spoke, it's a 24/7 industry. At night, no buses work. So we had to get vehicles to transport staff. The first time I spoke to a transport operator and I gave him some projections of what could be, he said, well, he was speaking to me in Hindi. He said he has 5 vehicles today. Based on what I'm telling him, he'll need about 30. I'm not joking, right? Because he's going to sell his wife's jewelry to buy those vehicles. Persuasion, where you had to convince people that you could still do it. The largest issuer of Visa cards in India, State Bank of India. My bosses did not believe that they will have a JV with GE. State Bank, of course, did not believe. Our competitor in that was well entrenched. A chance meeting with the India country head in a lift, where he said, I know you are pursuing this, good luck, make it happen. And I said, I will show that it can happen. Today, that JV is the largest issuer of Visa cards, not only in India, but all of Asia. They had to be persuaded to believe that we were the right partners. My bosses had to be persuaded to believe that they could invest in India. Resilience. Now, whether it is resilience or we entrepreneurs are loony will never be known. Because once it turns out to be right, you say it is resilience. But I always knew it, I'm so smart. But when it turns out to be wrong, you're loony. At least that way you get to keep your job. So, when we moved, we had demonstrated the competency and capability on accounting and back office work. And we were then taking it into real-time work, the call center world. And that time, there was no fiber optic. No, all these fancy fiber optic cables that run under the ocean and make it instantaneous. It was satellite, and therefore the voice from an office in the US would bounce up to the satellite, bounce down to India, be converted back to voice. So there was a delay because it went up 30,000 miles and came down 30,000 miles. And this superior of mine looked at it and said, oh, there's a delay. There'll be a lag in the voice. It ain't going to work. Let's stop this meeting. It ain't going to work. A lot of money was spent getting some experts to talk to him and to the rest of my bosses. Didn't work. Till we set up the system, and one of my dear colleagues was good friends with this guy. They'd go out for a beer in the evening, have a drink in the evening. So from the office in New Delhi, where we set up this phone, we got this guy to call him and say, let's say his name was Jack. I won't take his name, I'll get into trouble, he'll sue me. Hey Jack, how are you? I'm in town, can we meet for a drink in the evening? And he was told that he must continue that conversation for 2 minutes. How's the family? How's the kids? So we are meeting. No, that joint is not good enough. No, the beer there is better. The ambience there is better. Whatever. But 2 minutes you have to keep talking. And at the end of 2 minutes he said, so you think I'm in your town? We are meeting in the evening. I said, yes. I said, I'm not. I'm calling you from India on the same thing that has that lag. And as a user, you think I'm in the same city. There was a pause, and he said, Raman is with you, that son of a so-and-so. That created an industry. He became our biggest supporter because now it was demonstrated. If it had been discovered before, I could have lost my job. Resilience, being loony, you take a pick. But you need a little bit of both. You need both so that things can be teed up and you can make an orchestra play out of the various instruments that are there. Integrity, doing the right thing. So in my career, a lot of people have approached me to say large contracts, even hiring people, all these. There must be a lot of people who are doing hiring in this room and making lots of money. They come in and say, hey, I'm going to make money. Psst, I'm willing to share it with you. Doing what is right with integrity is crucial, but it helped create something that I'm truly proud of. One of the large auto vendors came in with an offer where we were putting out a contract. And I'd call my guys in and say, whatever happens, this guy must not get the contract. Because he was being obnoxious. And we said, so what are the options? Net, we worked out an option to find the drivers, go to a bank, give a guarantee to the bank that we will give this job to these drivers and help them become entrepreneurs. And one night at 3 a.m., this driver driving me back told me that he now has 5 vehicles and he lives a life of dignity. All a little bit because of some integrity of some issues that somebody else was having. So doing things with integrity, doing the right things becomes essential. And for mentoring, it works both ways, where you learn, take people as mentors for what they have done globally. That is why I love sessions such as this, because it's learning. You get encapsulated learning for what you can take. And then the ability to teach people, give them the learnings of what you have. Give them not only the learnings, but give them the space to be able to experiment. I've been a firm believer that the startup space can revolutionize this country. 6-7 years ago, we formed the Indian Angel Network with the intention of creating an ecosystem for new entrepreneurs, for startups. You know, today you read about that in the newspaper. The Prime Minister even stands up at the Red Fort and talks of startups. I really wonder what he meant. But at that time when we started, a startup had no option. Mentorship happened only at a dinner table with the father mentoring the son or the uncle mentoring the nephew. That is all the mentorship that existed. There were no formal mechanisms. Today, we created an ecosystem and the journey has started. There is a lot more that is to be done, but mentorship is crucial and critical to what we do. The baton must be passed on. The learning must be passed on. It is not that everybody has to relearn everything that has to be done. And then it is entrepreneurial. The risk-taking ability. The risk of not even knowing whether it will work. Yes, again, as I said earlier, if it succeeds, you can say you always knew it. But having a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan E, a plan F, a plan Z is crucial to be. The taking a risk is not a problem. It is the plans that you have to be able to mitigate that risk. So we had this great process where we used to print out something from a system using a special printer. And then we used to collate it and courier it back to the customer in the US. We'd imported the printer, we'd imported the equipment. Great process for saving a lot of money. Was the quality levels went up till one day the printer stopped working. Xerox printer. That time there was a joint venture of Xerox and Modi Xerox. We called the guys in. And the engineer comes and looks at the printer, and I'm standing there because it is so crucial for our existence. And he tells his colleague, once I've seen this printer in an exhibition. And you chew your nails and say, but can you fix it? He says, I have no clue about it. Till a kid who's sitting there working on a process, tech savvy, says, I can catch the image on the way to the printer if I put a PC in between, and I can print it on a normal printer. The Xerox guys laughed. Some of the kids' seniors laughed and said, shut up, don't say such things in front of Raman. But he had caught Raman's attention to say, hey kid, let's try it. It worked. Not only did we catch the image and print it, we realized that once we caught the image, instead of printing it, we could email it. We cut down 4 days from the process. No, not my smart idea, nor I wish I was that smart and bright. But allowing and having eyes and ears to be able to pick up those ideas becomes very crucial. So, take the risk. Find the risk mitigating strategies and take it to the next level. And that is what Prime is. Persuasion, resilience, integrity, mentoring, and entrepreneur. And now we are taking it to the next level. We are taking the BPO industry, which essentially served the Fortune 500. As Quatrro, we are taking it to the mid-market. And there are different challenges. The mid-market doesn't have the technology. So you offer the technology. The mid-market doesn't come and visit you. You have to give them an idea what you can do on an offshore basis, because their order size is not large enough to be able to visit you. Your process is required to be totally different from what it is, and we are still learning. More importantly, we believe that the next million jobs will come from rural India. We've taken baby steps. We have about a couple of hundred people sitting in villages doing high-end work, including analyzing molecules and PhDs on molecules out of villages where a train does not go. I'm ashamed to admit, because the train doesn't go, I haven't gone there. But the talent exists. 57% of this industry comes from small towns and villages, and we train them. We are experimenting with saying, rather than set up centers in large towns like Hyderabad, where we have to get people and construct houses for them to come, is there a model where we can take the work to them and they walk to work? Good initial success, but a lot has to be done. And this, I'll end with this little saying, because that is what I believe in, that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. You have to overcome the fear and get to the next level. Thank you very much.